this call to order for the February 8th Board of Supervisors meeting of the Buckingham County Board of Supervisors. We have a quorum established. Could we stand and have the invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for giving us the traveling mercies to get here. We thank you for watching over us. We especially thank you for those who are on the front lines, who are serving and protecting us, namely our armed forces and those healthcare staff and those who are providing for others. We thank you for our staff. We thank you for our constituents, and we thank you for allowing us to serve, and we pray that we will keep your will in mind at all times. And it's in Jesus Christ's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote. Seven yes, and that's next item is going to be approval of the minutes. We have a motion by Mr. Bryant.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Mr. Miles. Call for the vote. We have seven yes. Approval of the claims.
I move the claims be approved as presented, Mr.
Wait a
Chairman.
minute, Mr. Brown, have you voted on the last one yet?
Sorry.
There you go.
Seven yes. Okay, approval of the claims.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval of the claims. Call for the vote. Seven yes. Any announcements? We do have one announcement. I'm going to let Mr. Miles take care of this. This is some information that we got from the new public library on some things that they're trying to do, and just a little bit of public advertising for them in their new building. So,
Yeah, just very briefly, Mr. Chairman, I passed this on to the chairman earlier, but the library is doing curbside pickup for their books and movies right now. They have a hybrid model of operating due to COVID-19, and they are also checking out laptops and hotspots, both Verizon and U.S. Cellular. So they wanted to pass that on, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir.
yes, sir. Thank you. They're working hard up there. Anybody that can utilize that building with the library and everything, we urge them to go up there and visit. So anyway, they got a lot of good stuff going on. All right. Any public comments, Ms. Land?
Yes. We have one from Marie Flowers that was emailed. She said, "My name is Marie Flowers. I live in the 3rd District. My comment refers to your approval of drilling. There is no provision for the protection of water on neighbors' property. I know the experts stated that there is little chance of contaminating the water, but it can happen. Why shouldn't there be some protection for our citizens? This board did not protect the citizens of Union Hill to the fullest, even though many experts gave suggestions on what could be done during the hearings for the compressor station. These actions tell me and the world that the elected officials care nothing for the citizens of Buckingham County. Wouldn't it be awful if you were the injured citizen? Then it would be important. Respectfully, Marie Flowers." We have Mike Woods from District 6 here tonight.
Okay.
How y'all doing this evening? Mike Woods. Just coming to
show some support for the emergency services, the great job that they're doing for the county, that y'all have undertaken to start employing the county citizens to run the calls, and show support for the volunteer staff that y'all were talking about bringing back. I know that y'all had some issues in the past, but I'd like to see the county move forward past that to get the volunteers back on to help support the paid staff and to run calls that are being dropped, that they can hopefully take care of some of those calls. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Wood, appreciate that.
Gwen Robinson, District 4.
Good evening, all. My name is Quinn Robinson. I live on 640 in Andersonville, next to the church. I had a couple of things really quick. I'm glad people are finding the library worthwhile. However, you've got to get it open. If there are convenience stores open, doing business, I don't know why it can't be open. And it's particularly critical now with the delay in information with the getting onto the internet. I don't have high speed. I have to wait hours for it to come up, and then it blinks off. I haven't seen the whole minutes yet, but I wanted to have a chance to read them. There's got to be another way to work this out. My main concern tonight was the meeting of last month, and I think the idea of joint meetings is just, if not impossible, it's undesirable. It's been a feature or a habit of this county to do that, and it's not productive. Who knows who's doing what and why? And it was a little bit chaotic towards the end when, as the chair was being passed back and forth, that it came to a point where the commission was supposed to make a recommendation to the board. And there's a change of positions, and then some discussion, and the recommendation came forward. But the recommendation came from one of the supervisors, not the commission. It doesn't make any sense. If you don't know what's going on and what's happening, then it's going to get really complicated. The Robert's Rules of Order are important, and they're important because they're a civilized, standard way to do things. Fairness for everybody. And it's clear that the first thing you do every January is to pass those rules. And then the meeting, you walk away from them, if not shredding them. It just doesn't make any sense. Please look into it. Get a full-time, they're professional parliamentarians, or get some of the crib sheets that'll tell you how to do that. The chairman has ultimate control of what is proper and appropriate. And I spoke late in the day on this matter, and I did so because I thought I had precedent with the militia mania that happened in, I guess it was December of 2019, when the entire audience was hooping and hollering. So I wanted to make a point that procedure was not being followed. It benefits helping the county. Thank you. Good luck.
Tawana Patterson, District 2.
Good evening. My name is Tawana Patterson, and this is more of a request as opposed to a comment, a request for the board to consider granting an easement or a deed of right-of-way to property adjacent to the public library. I sent some information in, and I would hope that that information got disseminated to the board in terms of the layout, the drawings, and what exactly is being requested.
Ms. Carter? Nikki, have we received anything about that? What is the right-of-way for, Ms. Patterson? I'm just curious.
It is for a new home being built near or right adjacent to the library. The home has to face the library due to the drain field. So we're asking or would like to be able to access that new home by using the entrance to the library.
The existing library, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, is it the existing or the old
The new library.
The new one.
Deal with
Yes.
Okay, just to clarify.
All right, where they live is, where the water tower is, if you're standing on 15 and looking at the water tower, they currently live to the left. Okay, so they're gonna be building like behind the water tower, behind, if I'm right, Ms. Patterson, behind the water tower, behind where they currently live. And to get into there, because of the way the water tower and stuff is, they would need an entrance, right there by,
Isn't there a residence there between the water tower and?
That's
the
them.
That's them?
That's them.
The older house?
that's
is
the
back-
old house.
Okay, okay. What's wrong with the entrance there is now, they're there now? Isn't there interest?
I will give way to my husband. He can
Okay,
better
isn't there
explain that than I
entrance,
can.
but isn't there an entrance to the older home there?
There is an entrance further past. It comes in, there are 2 residents there, including us currently, and it's not a through traffic driveway per se. It's directly in the middle of a driveway. So in order to do that, it would disrupt the 2 residents that are currently there.
There's no way to reconfigure that? I mean, I'm just asking to try to save you some grief here. We're kind of treading on stuff that's never been done before in the county as far as a right-of-way. I mean, that would be something legally, I don't know about all that, but for us just to deed a right-of-way to someone, that's really not what we're here about to do. But I would think if you contacted a surveyor or a civil engineer to be able to do something, looking at the plat, maybe you could come together with the other landowners there to try to get you a right-of-way into that. But anyway, we'll take what you've asked or talking about. We'll listen to it and talk about it a little bit. I don't think that's going to probably work at the end of the day. So anyway, do you have any interest in the other parcel of land that's there, or is that owned by someone else? Is that what the deal is?
Her time is, can I?
Yeah, just go ahead.
So yeah, my name is Joseph Patterson, so of course I'm her husband.
Right.
So the way that the property is situated and the way that it's cut up, it's adjacent to Harold Davis's property, so it's kind of nestled in. There is no through traffic in the way, and we've had it surveyed. We're subdividing the land with the potential of maybe even selling the current home that we have. So there's no through traffic that could come into the other property. The way that the drain field is going to be, you would literally be driving. You would literally be driving into the back of the new home. So that's why we're asking, and everybody that we've talked to has always, they said that it's never been done in the county. If they were the county, they wouldn't approve it. I don't know the legal ramifications on it, but we have, younger children, and, even with the bus, they would have to, the home would be facing the library, but they would be, they had to catch the bus, 2 properties over. So there's no through traffic there. There's no cul-de-sac. There's, and we'd have to reconfigure, you know, I mean, the whole thing. But I don't, even if we faced it toward the road, we're only looking at like 20 feet before we're like right in the woods.
Right. You're talking about 20 feet, that's what right of way's gonna be? I mean.
No, it'll be like 20, the house will be like from here to where you all are, facing the woods. So that's why with the drain field, if we face the library, we have access to almost like an acre of open space as opposed to just 20 feet of looking toward the road. And the back of the house would be the back of the house would be where the other property is.
Okay.
And that's why when we would have liked that somebody, you know, to come look. It's kind of hard to look at on the drawing, but.
Right. Well, Mr. Bryan just gave me a little drawing of how he saw it, so you know, we'll take it under advisement right now. We'll get the information from Ms. Edmonston and take a look at it and talk with Mr. Wright, our county attorney.
And I think this is a town of Dillon subdivision,
Yes.
under their subdivision regulations, not the county's.
You don't happen to know what those regulations are? I mean, as far as setbacks and stuff like that, do you, Ms. Carter? Is it?
I don't know what they are.
Well,
They know, I'm sure.
What is the setback? Is it, I mean, like where your house is sitting, you've got to be, most of the time, like out in the county, it's like 10 feet off the
Oh, yeah,
line.
it's substantial. The way that it'll be set up would be, the drain field would be,
Freeze in.
would be where the property line, where we
Okay.
come into where the driveway is.
Okay, all right. Have you already built the house?
I'm sorry?
Have you already built the house?
No, we pretty much have everything done except this.
I
The
see.
survey's done, we have the contractors waiting on
Okay.
a
Are you
driveway.
guys, Mr. Patterson, are you guys in the town of Dillon?
We are in the town of Dillon.
Then it's on the edge if they are. 'Cause
Right.
That's
I mean,
right
you're
there.
probably just barely on the edge, because I thought the town of Dillon went just a little past the post office, and you guys are way past the post
Mine's
office.
at Gold
Yeah,
Mine
but
Street.
we're in the town. We talked to Dennis Carney, and we're clearly in the town.
Okay,
Is it,
okay.
all right, we'll get the information together, Mr. Patterson, Ms. Patterson, and we'll do some research on it and talk to Mr. Wright, see what we can come up with for you.
All we have.
All right, we got item number 1, which are road matters with Vdot. Is Scott Frederick on the call in tonight? Guess the first thing is we need to consider resolutions for public hearings to abandon the 2 bus loops, one at the old Dillon Primary and the other at the Gold Hill School. Need to discuss this?
I'd move, Mr. Chairman, that we set public hearings for our March meeting on the resolutions as presented regarding the bus loops at the old Dillon Primary and the Gold Hill Elementary School.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor.
And a second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to consider setting a public hearing for March for these resolutions. Is that right, Mr. Miles?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
At our regularly scheduled March meeting, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, can we call for the vote, please? Seven yes. All right. Do we want to talk to Mr. Frederick if he's on the line now, or what? Okay.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Barely.
There you are.
Okay, thank you. I had to switch microphones. Sorry about that. Well, I put together a quick update. If you guys can hear me and want to listen to it, and I'd be happy to take any comments from you guys.
We can hear.
So we had 2 snow events, as everyone knows, and I think we got through those as good as you could want to get through them. And currently we're cleaning up our equipment and restocking materials in case we have any more of those snowstorms come through. And I'd like to thank you guys for making the motion and approving the public hearings to abandon at the the Gold Hill Elementary School and the Dillwyn Primary School. The streetscape project, there's going to be a walkthrough for that tomorrow to work on closing it out. So I'll be in down at Dillwyn tomorrow for that. I think that project has turned out really well. That's a very nice construction so far from what I've seen of it. Well, I'd like to thank Supervisor Bryan for taking time to meet with us last month. We've looked at some stuff, and we're going to do a little bit of work there on Bell Road. Unfortunately, it hasn't dried out enough to do any of the ditching that we looked at there. There's a woman named Cheryl White that the board brought to my attention. There's some drainage issues that she's been bringing to our attention, or the board's attention, and they brought them to my attention. I'm scheduled to meet with her at her residence tomorrow, so I wanted to let the board know, and I appreciate them doing that coordination for me. We did a lot of pothole patching last week throughout the county, a lot on the secondaries and some on the primaries. I'm sure with this last snow event, there's going to be more, especially with these extremely cold temperatures we've been getting at night. That seems like it makes those things show up that much faster. We've also been working on cutting some brush on our secondary route. And then the other big thing that we accomplished this month, we replaced a 24-inch pipe on Route 632. That was a one-day project, and we didn't really have any issues brought to our attention during that project. So I think it went smoothly, and it was a good improvement for the community in that area. So do you guys have anything you need to bring to my attention tonight?
I was just curious. We've taken a pretty hard hit this year with moisture and different things, and I know that some of the roads that I travel in my district, which is District 3, down around Shepherds, what's the plan moving forward in the spring once it starts to dry up on stone on some of these secondary roads that are gravel stuff? Are you going to go by complaints, or how are you going to address those issues? Because there's a bunch of them in my district. I don't know about the rest of these districts.
Yes, sir. We will be adding stone. As the best way to say it, we actually have put a lot out throughout the whole county, but especially District 3 area. I'd say about 2 months ago, we touched up a lot of the roads in that area, but we keep a constant watch on them. It's just something that, like this wet weather that you mentioned, it's been more this year than I was. The first year I worked as the resident engineer, I don't feel like we had to add near as much stone, but we're going to keep a close watch on them. We'll address them as needed.
What material are you going to be using this year? Is that going to change? I mean, we've been using some slate the last couple years and some granite too in places, but you're not going to change that material, are you, or do you know?
I think we're going to stick with what we used this year. We've had some issues with the slate, and as far as I'm aware, the materials office in Lynchburg hasn't approved this slate again. We actually took that off the list about 12 months ago because we were having so many issues with flat tires. So I'm pretty sure we're going to stick with the granite material. Companies are always trying to get on our list of approved products. And if that happens, we may switch, but as far as I know, we're going to stick with the suppliers we're currently using to do that work.
Also noticed some of the secondary roads that are surface treated, some of that patchwork that you guys did is not holding up too good. So I don't know if you need to put it in reverse and start reevaluating instead of shooting the whole road or whatever you're going to do. I just noticed number one, the first one that comes to mind is Route 608. which is, I think, Deer Run, coming off of
Okay.
636 and goes all the way over to 460. I just noticed it's a lot of breakup on that particular road in different spots. I assume that's
Yes,
more.
sir. We'll have to take a look at that.
Okay,
Whenever we do a new road like a rural rustic, we try to make sure that there's 6 inches of stone there. So we'll add stone to the point where there's 6 inches. We'll roll it and get good compaction, and then we'll surface treat it. If the road's already been built and we're just patching it, it's tough to get it without redoing the whole road. It's tough to know where those bad spots are if they're already covered up. But
yeah.
This weather, and if they get any kind of heavy traffic on it, it helps us find them. But we'll look at Deer Run specifically to see what we need to do with that one.
Also, Crumptown Road, I've noticed that also.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else got any problems in their districts?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could, Scott, and obviously I'll preface this by saying, we understand that it's been really wet and we've had a snow event or two and the chill in the air, but I'm going to send you an email with more specifics, but on the gravel part of Jericho Road is in pretty rough shape. I was down there today, and there's a pretty large pothole on Dixie Hill Road at Hilltop Road on the Route 60 end. Glover Hill Road's got numerous potholes, and I'm sure it's because of the weather and the blade and the temperature. And there's a really large pothole. There are signs, but I'd like to know what the recourse is and the course of action. But on the Bridge Road, about 1.5 miles roughly off of the Dixie Hill Road, Scott, Mr. Frederick, there's a really big hole in the road, and there are signs, but and I'm sure y'all are working on it, but I wanted to bring those to your attention and see what the course of action was for that road. That road goes between Route 24 and Dixie Hill Road.
Okay. I'll have to check and let you know. If there's signs there, then we obviously know about it. So I don't know what they're waiting on to get it fixed. So when you send me that email, I'll follow back up with you on the schedule to get it taken care of.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? All right, Scott, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you, Chairman and Board. You guys have a good night.
Okay. Okay, next item is a zoning matter. Ms. Edmiston, did you want to do this?
Yes, sir. So good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Before you tonight, you have the introduction of case 20 ZMA 281. The request is to rezone from agricultural A1 to business B1 for the purpose of business expansion. The landowner is JD Corporation of Virginia Incorporated, and the applicant is Des Raj, and the property is located tax map 95, parcel 32, contains approximately 1 acre, located at 3407 South Constitution Route, Dillwyn, at the intersection of State Route 649, which is Slate River Mill Road, and State Route 20. The property is currently known as Route 20 Market. His request, of course, is asking the Buckingham County Board of Supervisors to recommend a public hearing to hear this request for the rezone. This property currently operates as Route 20 Market as a grandfathered use. Mr. Raj wants to expand his business and construct a 4,000 square foot facility that will house a convenience store and food specialty grill shop. When an existing grandfathered use will be expanding or enlarging, per the Buckingham County zoning ordinance, the uses must be brought into compliance. Mr. Raj would not be able to apply for a special use permit in A1 because his new facility will be larger than the specifications on page 11 of the ordinance, which states that convenience general stores have a maximum 2,000 square feet and no more than 4 petroleum pumps. This location is approximately 9 miles from Scottsville Growth Corridor as outlined in the comprehensive plan. Mr. Raj has included his Vdot determination and understands that further Vdot review may be needed along with the site plan for construction, all subject to final decision. This case was introduced to the Planning Commission December 28th, and a public hearing was held January 25th of this year. landowner Edward Haynes requesting a chain link fence along the property line, of which Mr. Raj indicated he would comply and install the fence. Other discussion was in regard to the safety of ingress and egress at the existing intersection of Route 20 and Slate River Mill Road. Other discussion included hours, lighting, signage, location of fuel pumps, and parking. Mr. Raj explained that should his request be approved, keeping building open for business as usual during the construction phase of the new building, return to his normal hours of operation, which had been decreased during COVID-19, utilize lighting to enhance security, replace existing signage with an update reflecting BP branding, explain the location of a new pay-at-the-pump fuel, and explain the layout for parking. He is working with an engineer for site development. After discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously for recommendation of approval to the board. All Planning Commission members were present. Would it be agreeable to the Board of Supervisors to hold a public hearing March 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m.? Also, Mr. Raj is not able to attend tonight because he actually had to go into work because of an employee situation, but I'm sure that he would be agreeable to any questions or comments that you have outside of tonight.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Edmonston?
Do we need to put it in for the fence to say that that's one of the things he's got to do?
That was an agreement between the property owners. Since it's a rezone and not a special use permit, rezones do not come with any conditions that can be placed, but we can state that it was made public at the Planning Commission meeting that he agreed to that request from the adjacent property owner.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or discussion? Could we get a motion to set the public hearing, please?
Make a motion, we have a public hearing on March 8th.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we call for the vote, please? Seven yes. We'll have a public hearing on March the 8th for zoning matters for Mr. Raj. Thank you so much, Ms. Edmonston. All right, we're going into presentations. The first one is going to be Kristen Coates with Robinson, Farmer, and Cox Associates, going over our financial report and audit for 2020.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing?
Great. How are y'all tonight?
Doing fine.
Great. So as you mentioned, I'm here to present the results of the FY20 audit of the County School Board Department of Social Services. Is all included in the audit. So we were engaged to perform a financial statement audit and a compliance audit for the county. That audit was subject to auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America. The specifications for audits of county, cities, and towns issued by the Auditor of Public Accounts. The standards for financial audits containing government auditing standards, also known as the Yellow Book, Single Audit Act Amendment of 1996, and the provisions of uniform guidance that is over the federal awards. So all of those standards and requirements were unchanged from the prior year. So no differences in our procedures or requirements as far as the audit standards themselves. So our audit was performed in accordance with each of those standards. There were no new accounting standards implemented during the year. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but COVID had an impact on the audit standards. So nothing was actually implemented this year that was new. For accounting estimates, those are similar to prior years. They consist of the depreciable lives of capital assets, the allowance for your uncollectible property taxes, compensated absences, and then net pension asset and liabilities and the net OPEB liabilities, and then those related deferred inflows and outflows. We tested each of those and found them to be reasonable. There were no difficulties or disagreements in dealing with management during the course of our audit. There were a few audit adjustments that we proposed during our audit, various things, transfers for the VPA and school funds, which are typical transactions at the end of every year, some interfund activity in the debt service fund, just reclassifying accrued payroll and school funds, making sure that retainage payable was recorded on the construction contracts with the sewer project and also the library project, and then some typical adjustments from prior years on accrued interest and those GASB 68 and 75 entries in the water and sewer funds. We obtained all required representations from management. There were no consultations with other accountants or about accounting or auditing matters. As far as the required supplementary information, that's your management's discussion and analysis that kind of shows the changes between last year and this year. Management provided some explanations as to why some things changed this year, like taking over or contracting some of the rescue squad services. And so we reviewed that as well as those schedules related to the pension and OPEB funding. We applied limited procedures to those schedules. As far as the budgetary comparison information, we did review that in relation to the basic financial statement. So that's your Schedule 1, your Schedule 2, that shows how well you performed during the year in comparison to the adopted budget, and then also any appropriations that were adopted during the year or approved during the year. We were also engaged to report on other supplementary information, the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, and then those supplementary schedules and any combining statements. So you'll see some statements toward the back, some exhibits on the school board, your various funds, your capital projects, debt service, all of that. So we do review those and make sure that they are fairly stated in relation to the financial statement. We were not engaged to and do not express an opinion on the statistical information, so those 10-year stat tables in the back, that just shows you kind of the trends of how everything is changing from year to year. The results of our audit, we issued unmodified opinions on the financial statements. Those are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, the internal control over financial reporting and compliance, and then also compliance for the major federal programs, and then internal control over that compliance. So all of that was unmodified. That's basically what you want to hear at the end of your audit, what we used to refer to as a clean opinion. The VRS attestation report was also filed. There was one retirement deduction on the school board side that did not match the record, but upon finding that error, school board management corrected that. So everything else was fairly stated in relation to the VRS testing, which is a requirement from the Auditor of Public Accounts that we review every year. Just to highlight some of the fund balance changes, the general fund had a fund balance of $11.1 million or 11.2 rounded up last year. So there was a $400,000 change increase in the fund balance. So at the end of the year, it was $11 million. So a pretty good year with COVID and everything when you think about that. Now, the CARES Act fund is a new fund this year. Of course, that was where all the additional funds to help with COVID from the federal government was reported. So you'll see that there's a zero fund balance carried in that fund, but there are also unspent funds of $1.3 million at the end of June. So, of course, there was a big push to get all of those funds spent by December 30th. And then in December, legislation was passed that extended that to December 31st of 2021. So you have more time to spend that now, but that information you'll see is carrying a zero fund balance because it was all classified as unearned revenue. And as it's spent, then you'll recognize the revenue in relation to that. So that's why those show zeros. The County Capital Improvement Fund, you'll see this year that you had the issuance of the $5.1 million debt for the library and community center project, and of that, $4.9 million was spent. So that fund balance went from $42,000 last year. That pretty much represents the Gene Dixon fund balance that has been accumulating for that project. And then there was an increase of $159,000. So an ending fund balance of $201,000. So you can just see the reflection of that issuance of debt and then how much progress was made on that project. A lot of progress this year. The water and sewer funds had some decreases, $49,000 decrease in the water fund and a $209,000 decrease in the sewer fund. And I think that was because of the fact that you're self-funding the work that has been done so far on the water or sewer lines to Sprouts Corner. For the school board, the school operating fund does not carry a fund balance, so you see zeros there. And then the school cafeteria fund had a $28,000 increase. There were a few recommendations that we made this year as a result of our audit. So some of those related to just some of the adjustments that were made, some reconciling items, just the way that accrued leave schedules are maintained, the use of Excel spreadsheets, just making sure those are subject to clerical errors, so just making sure that they're reviewed upon completion for any mathematical issues. Some items as far as the IDA reporting, because that's newly used over the past couple of years, and there's a lot more activity running through the IDA and the relationship with the county. We're recommending that that be pulled onto the county general ledger or some sort of more robust accounting for that, since there's more and more transactions going through there. A few other items, just as far as our recommendations on the way certain things are reviewed in relation to internal controls and sharing of information between the school board and the county to make sure everything is in agreement, since the school board has their own set of books, but then they're also pulled into the county's general ledger. There's a lot more detail on that in the management letter, if you have a chance to review that. Earlier, I referenced the accounting changes. SB 84 was effective this year. We talked about that a little bit last year. That relates to fiduciary activities. So there are certain activities like school activity funds that will actually become part of the financial statements going forward. But you're still maintaining those in a fiduciary capacity. So you'll see a few more schedules in your financial statements next year dealing with that. It won't impact your general fund or anything like that. It won't have an impact on the county funds, but just more information that you do have to present in the financial statements going forward. So just start working with the school board on that to make sure that they are aware of that and have everything in place on the school activity fund side for that reporting. And then the following year, fiscal year 22, GASB 87 will be effective, and that is the standard on leases, and it requires a lot more information and a different accounting for those leases. So just making sure right now, it's really important to go through and start gathering all of the leases that everyone may have and reviewing them and trying to pull out all the terms and conditions and make sure that you have all of that information, in front of you, so you can get it in the financial statements properly when the time is right in a couple of years. That's all that I have. Unless you have any questions, I will be glad to entertain them. I miss seeing you guys. I'm looking at myself. That's not my preference.
Any questions or discussion, gentlemen? Everything looks good, Ms. Coates. We appreciate it. Ms. Carter, do you have any input on this audit or anything? Everything's good?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Carter, do you have anything?
All right. Well, it seems like everything for a year of the pandemic, I mean, it looks like everything went pretty smooth for us. I mean,
Well, I would just like to clarify where it looks like our expenditures did not exceed our revenue. But I think the school also didn't spend $700 and some thousand. That would, Kristen, that would be in that general fund number, wouldn't it? If the school did not spend all their money. So that's something to keep in mind too.
yes, ma'am. Well, just a hats off to our staff. Again, they've done a really good job, and we appreciate them. And we appreciate you, Ms. Coates, of going through our books and making sure we're doing what we need to do, too. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right.
Thank you, Kristen.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Mr. Keith Plass with St. Thomas Aquinas Seminary. He has a presentation for us. Mr. Plass, welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to ask her to put on a few pictures while I'm introducing myself. So, thank you for having me out here. It's quite an honor to be able to speak in front of the county officials. My first time. I'm a student at a seminary that's located out off of Ranson Road, District 6, and we built this place out in the middle of a pine forest back in 2016. It's a institution that trains young men to become Catholic priests, and a 7-year program. We have about 100 men there at any given time, and all of the surrounding staff support, even a convent of nuns on site. Could you rotate through the next picture? Thank you. Next. The next one. A symbol of what we're about, our religious significance there. We really were touched by the welcome we received coming out here. That was extraordinary, and the signs we received on our part to know it was a good idea to come were also extraordinary. The next picture, please. For instance, you might not be able to see it too well in the picture. We have a gorgeous view of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And for a sign, these mountains directly in front of us are called the Religious Range. And no one told us that. We never expected to see that. But we take it as a little sign from God that He meant for us to be there. So I'll use that to tie in what we're doing right now. On behalf of the rector of the seminary, I'm organizing a movement to make a new unincorporated community in the area. Now, an unincorporated community, it's not a town. It's a name on the map, really. That's all it is. And it, on our part, it gives us a better connection with the land. So our institution already has a name, St. Thomas Aquinas Seminary, and we want to have something in addition to that, larger than that, that really works with our mentality there at the seminary. We want to build everything high quality. We want to do things well. We want to teach people how to live their lives well and be in touch with reality, be in touch with things as God make them. And one of the things that's most remarkable about our property there, the geography, the history. So there's a lot of local customs going back to the time of Thomas Jefferson. He loved to bring in a lot of very beautiful names from Italy and France. I can think of the more famous ones, Monticello, Montpellier, all these places. They really have, you'd say, a cultured ring to them, but a certain beauty to them, and they express the local atmosphere well. And we even saw vineyards and smaller towns or unincorporated communities with a sort of theme of how they are named. For instance, Montvale in Bedford County. And it started giving us this idea. It was already actually was an idea that had been in place before. Our rector had wanted a name for our weather station we had there. So a name that really solidified, I guess, that particular place. So the name is Mont Valon. Could you go to the next frame, please?
How do you spell that?
I'm hoping she'll pull it up. So that's a beautiful nighttime picture of the seminary. The next one. I'll have to come back to that, the next one. The last one, I promise. So I hope it's clear enough for people. At the very bottom of this map, it's spelled Montvvalon. It's a French word that just means mountain valley. So really everything you see when you go up to our property. So I take it as a chance to honor my rector who brought us here and has done all of this incredible work to build this place. So many different obstacles have come up that he's pushed through. So a tribute to his French ancestry and his particular mindset of putting us in touch with reality. So with that in mind, I approached the U.S. Board on Geographical Names and started a process. And this process, it goes on a government level, and they place this proposal in front of a board who votes on whether or not it'll be accepted. But they are interested to see if the local community has any sort of concerns, would like to show support for this. So I bring that in front of you today to see that. One of the main concerns I've heard, it's all very nice and well to put a name on a map, but how does it affect people? Are the neighbors going to be upset too much by this? Is it going to change their addresses? After speaking to several of the representatives, from the representative from the U.S. Board on Geographical Names and the Virginia Board on Geographical Names, it seems that it's ultimately going to be up to the post office itself whether or not this name proposed and placed on a map actually translates into an address change. What they are going to try to do, if there is anything at all that's changed on the addresses, the people within the boundaries of this unincorporated community, those people would have a secondary optional address change. So they could either say Dillwyn as their town or Montvallon. So similar to, I could think of a whole slew of them throughout the area here, maybe someplace like Gold Hill, if it were to have an actual address made at the post office, you could call the place Gold Hill instead of Dillwyn. So that's kind of the big picture there. I think right now we don't foresee anything changing at all for any of our neighbors. We've spoken to most of them. There's a few we haven't been able to get a hold of yet. All those we've reached out to have told us they're supportive of it. There's one of them who would like to be a part of it, and several who are still considering. So it starts off as, I guess, more us looking for an identity and trying to create a cultural landmark for ourselves, create more local interest, which would benefit the county too. It gives it a better image, we'd hope, with a more beautiful name. It helps direct the locals and the different people who support us, who come several times a year for the different ceremonies. It makes it easier to find out where it is. I'd say that nearly states it all. I think the land or the address was the main problem for most people. And I think I've answered the who, what, why, when, and where, the how even. And I guess if anyone here has questions, I'm certainly going to try my best to answer them if I haven't already. And just to sum it up, yes, it's a project of our seminary to put ourselves in touch with reality and the righteous search for happiness in this life. And we'd like everyone else to support us if they can in that, and create greater unity, especially among our neighbors. So if you do want to support us, don't hesitate to tell the board, or even the board, you could tell the U.S. Board on Geographical Names how you feel about it. Thank you.
We might have a few questions for you, Mr. Pless. Okay. I know I do, but I'm going to give the floor to any of the other supervisors first. Who wants to get it started? Anybody got any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I would just, an observational comment, what most concerns me is the address and what could change and transpire, especially with our, I guess with not only with the first responders, but E911, all first responders, that kind of thing. So I do have concerns with that, sir.
Okay. So again, we can't even be sure the post office would want to change anything.
Sure.
But if they would, it would be adding a secondary acceptable address. So there's still, all they'd be changing is the name of the town, and there would be two names in place there. So if either one were addressed, they could find it either way.
Any other questions, fellas?
Okay.
I've been there since '81, so.
Okay.
I've got a question for you, Mr. Pless.
Yes, sir.
How many acres are on this particular site that is involving,
It's implied.
how many, yeah, it's in the white, yes, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. That is one thing I didn't explain well enough. You have the basic, what's shown there is the outline of our property, which is over 1,000 acres, a little over 1,000 acres. It's right off of Ranson Road. The lower right corner is Ebenezer Church, the neighbor right there, and Glenmore up on the top. So that's about 1,000 acres. The neighbor who wants to be a part of it, he's probably has 60 acres. And the U.S. board says it's an unincorporated community is kind of a confusing thing to put boundaries on. It's confusing if you want to put boundaries on it. But for the purposes of documentation and starting the process, they wanted us to actually draw out a boundary. Really all it is a name on the map. Glenmore or Howardsville or Ranson's, you've got a name on the map, probably because there was a town there or a church, and it's kind of a cultural historical footprint of that group there.
So it's about 1,000 acres. How many permanent residents? I know you said there's about 100 at any given time there, but how many actual permanent residents are on this piece of property?
Okay. I guess you wouldn't consider the students permanent residents. They're there. They're not. A lot of them aren't able to vote in the state of Virginia. A lot of the students, mainly because it's easier for them going home, or easier just not to change their driver's licenses. But they're there almost the entire year, with the exception of summer break, really. Summer break is 3 months. But permanent residents, you have staff and the professorship those put together, that's about 20, 25 maximum. We'd like to see more and more development happening in there. Already we've started putting in a retreat house, we've started putting in a better convent, and the idea is we'd like to bring in more support groups who could help us.
What do you mean by that, support groups? What are you talking about?
Families even who would want to settle, who buy property from us or settle nearby, who are very closely tied to us. Either they come in and work at our place or they attend services at our place. So kind of a permanent group of people there.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So to fine tune Supervisor Matthews' question, Mr. Plass, how many non-associated people of the seminary live in this footprint?
Okay, ask for a clarification, sir. Not
Citizens.
How many people who are not affiliated with the seminary live in the footprint of the proposal? Is my question, sir.
there, as of now, sir, there's only one neighbor who would like to be a part of it.
Who is that? Can you mind me asking who that is?
Yes, I'm aware that he couldn't be here tonight, but he has given me permission to include him. Chris Rumsey. Hope I could give you his address, or
Yes, sir.
Keith, right there, when you come out of 705 to 20,
Yeah.
on the hill from Muddy Creek, the next intersection is Scottsville.
South Road. South
Yes,
Road.
sir.
South Road, Mr. Chambers.
After you pass Muddy Creek.
Right.
That's the first. Pass Muddy Creek, go up top of the hill, it's 656. That's Scottsville.
That address is Scottsville zip
Yeah,
code.
Willwater
is what you're
Road.
saying? Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's a confusing place to be.
Yeah,
They've
Well, Mr. Platt.
I'd like to add that Jennifer Runyon with
Yes.
the United States Board on Geographic Names and Cassandra Farrell with the Virginia Board on Geographical Names is on standby if you have any questions. So,
I got a few more from Mr. Plass before we bring those ladies on. I guess my other question is, let's just get right down to the nuts and bolts of this whole thing. I mean, what is, you just want to change the name just to make it a prettier name? Is that kind of what you're thinking? I mean, that's the only reasoning behind this thing?
Okay, I see your question, sir. So the name, there was nothing there before, so it's the creation of a brand new name. Nothing's being displaced by it. But I think it's you could look at it that way, but I think it's more tied to our identity as a seminary, and you'd have to understand, I guess, how we would like to fit in with the local community, how we want to make ourselves permanent, and it's an extension of how we look at reality. Sorry.
Ms. Edmonston, how many acres are in the Slate River District total? Do you know that? Not a trick question.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Well, the reason I'm getting to that, I mean, we really are glad that you're here in Buckingham County, and I know I am, and we want to work with you the best we can, but, you know, there's a lot of history in Buckingham County, and this stuff dates back a long way, even before you guys got here, believe it or not. And I think a lot of people are partial to that. They are, I don't have a problem with you naming your property whatever you want it to name it, but I do have some reservations about renaming that whole district and that whole area. That's just my take on it, and I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm not speaking for the other 6 gentlemen on this board, but, you know, I've got some other questions at some other time, probably moving forward if it gets to that point. But it seems to me, you know, with getting the Postal Service involved in this thing, that, you know, we have 5 or 6 different zip codes that are already present in Buckingham County. And we're not a large, I mean, we're a large county acreage-wise, but population-wise, we're not that big. We're more of a rural situation. I don't really want to cost the taxpayers a whole lot of money by having to change something like that or give something another name. I'm just thinking, you know, if I live on the other end of the county, and if somebody stopped in my place of business and said, I want to know where the seminary is, I wouldn't say it's at Mont Vallon, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I would say it's in Glenmore or up there close to, I would give directions to get to Glenmore. I wouldn't give directions to get to Mont Vallon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking, you know, simple ways of trying to achieve this thing. I'm not against you naming your property whatever you like to name it, but I do have some reservations of renaming that district. And I don't know if anybody else has any opinions on that or whatever moving forward, but.
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I'm the same way. You can name it whatever you want to, but
Yes, sir.
I don't think it needs to be changed in the post office or nothing like that.
Okay.
Right, I tend to agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, you know, what's to say that, I'll say Kainite, you know, let's say that they want to change, you know, their entire district and make it something else. You know, then if we allow this, then we have to allow anybody to do it. And then we would have people, just for the sake of redoing it, you know.
I agree with you.
Could we table this, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I think maybe let's visit it.
Can I try to
Right, that's
answer?
my intention. Sure.
Yes, sir. You have something to say, Mr. Plank?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would like to clarify, by district, I don't mean at all District 6. It's a area that was owned by West Rock mainly, so Pine area where hardly anyone's lived. So we obviously don't intend to erase all of the history around. It's not displacing anything. The zip code isn't going to change no matter what. All the post office would change is making an option for it to be called Montfalon, which isn't essential to it being approved by the government.
Did I understand you to say that you all may have plans to divide some of that off and people move in there that is part of your organization?
We would like to see that in the future, yes, that it becomes more and more of a community.
More of a community with divided.
If you look at a map, Mr. Chairman, of Buckingham County on Google, you'll see an area called Ranson's, Supervisor Chambers. That's right in that area, right? Right, and so way before my time, Supervisor Chambers, way before my time. But I would.
Sammy was the postmaster, right?
Huh?
Sammy Ransom was the postmaster.
That's the one with a guy called Cladiball.
So there's a place name there, is what I guess maybe I'm trying to emphasize right now.
There used to be a post office there, a doctor's office, real people, Dr. Patterson. Then he had a sister used to run a store down the corner of the Hunter Club called it was a little town there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why I got the name Ransom Road. Virginia.
Hmm.
Virginia.
So what I'm trying to say is that I would hate for Ranson's to be not on this map, is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, Absolutely.
I mean, that's,
I do have another question. Ms. Carter brought up a good point, Mr. Plass, which is, you know, when you start developing land in Buckingham County, different things that fall into place involving that, and that goes through Ms. Edmonston, which, you know, it would be some things and hoops that you'd have to jump through when that stuff starts to occur. So, you know, it's just different ground that we're covering right now, and those things.
Subdivision ordinance
Yeah,
compliance.
we need to think about that, that involving this whole scenario also before we make a decision. So, I think Mr. Miles has asked us to table this thing, and that's probably what we're going to do tonight. And we're not giving you an answer. We're not trying to be short with you, but has anybody else got any questions for Mr. Plass moving forward? Appreciate your time, and thank you for bringing this up to our attention. So something for us to think about. All right. All right, Ms. Page, Mayor of Dillon, is next.
Good evening.
Good evening.
good evening, Mayor.
I came to withdraw the request for the county's assistance in the situation with the town of Dillon in terms of the streetscape project. In an unprecedented move, Vdot has decided to go ahead and pay the contractor and the engineer the funds, so we will not have to put money up front. Also, we reallocated some items in our budget, so we will not need the $21,000 also. And before I take my seat, special emphasis to our county administrator, to Sharon White from Vdot, and also to Todd Fortune from CRC. Without the three of their assistance, we would not have came up with this solution, and I'm eternally grateful to them. And in terms, prior to my coming to the meeting this evening, an individual and an anonymous individual in the town of Dillon called and offered the $26,000. So I told the individual we had it straight. But all of this has meant so much to me, and I thank you all for what you were considering to do for us. Any questions?
Well, yeah,
And
just
I'd like to
hold on.
mention Chris Winstead with VDOT also.
Yes.
Very instrumental in getting the ball rolling.
Yes.
To, like you said, unprecedented to for VDOT to do this. So I thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness it's
I
worked
do-
out.
I
To
do-
God be the glory.
Thank the Lord.
I do appreciate you thanking our staff and the other people that were involved in this too, because that was weighing very heavy on all of our hearts about Buckingham, and we wanted to do the right thing. But, you know, we need to make sure in the future, moving forward, we're professional and we need to do these things the right way. So if you need some assistance and stuff like that, you know, we're here to help you, not hurt you. So before you bite off too much to chew, next time maybe come see us a little bit. Okay, thank you. All right, we're moving on to.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I have one point I'd like to bring up. Mr. Plass, I see in your first letter, if we don't hear from you by March 15th, we will assume that you have no response on this name proposal. You understand that right now our response is a no until we take further action on it. Okay, I just wanted to make that clear that we're not ignoring you, but right now it is a no from the county standpoint. Okay.
All right, moving forward, departmental agency reports and items of consideration. Number one, the electoral board, consider requests from the electoral board to amend the current redistricting ordinance to relocate the polling location for District 6. If you choose to consider this, you will need to have a public hearing. So,
Chairman,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
we need to consider changing that because of safety reasons. You got two.
Yes.
And then, my left church today.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Chambers, because I've been by there on the first Tuesday of the month of November during election, and it is very hectic coming through there, and that curve is very dangerous if you're not paying attention. So I want to thank Sharon Baptist Church for extending up to us to be able to do that, but we still have to go through the procedures to establish that. So I'm waiting for a motion.
I made one.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor to have a public hearing for the relocation of the precinct for March the 8th. Can we have a call for the vote? Seven yes. All right, thank you. All right, the next item is the school board consider direction for the school board regarding bids for the school building flat roof. I think there's going to be some discussion on this. So is Ms. Hicks, Dr. Hicks, on the phone? Or they don't have any representative, or they want to talk to us, or not? He's not? Okay.
Yeah.
Who?
That didn't sound like Dr. Hicks.
Who is?
Who is this? Okay.
I apologize for that. I was talking to my cats.
We needed that.
Oh, man. Okay.
Okay, Dr. Hicks. Dr. Hicks is not on the line then.
Okay. Moving right along.
All right, so I guess we'll put this off till March the 8th, and maybe they can get some information to us that's a little bit more clear in the direction. I've heard a few things that they've hired a consultant as far as an architect, and I'd like to have some discussion about that in particular and what direction they're going with an architect. So I would think they'd have someone on staff that could write a RFP without going through an architect, but I do have some questions for the architect as far as maybe eliminating the rubber membrane roof and moving to a metal roof. Just want to weigh all our options moving forward. So I don't know if anybody else has anything else to say.
Just got a message from Dr. Hicks that she can call in.
Okay, all right. We'll hold on for just a second or two.
College is great, isn't it?
Hold through L3.
Take her long. She's probably already dialing.
All you want.
Next one, while you're waiting on.
We can. Okay, let's go to the next item while Dr. Hitz gets on the phone. Number 3, which is the Commissioner of Revenue, Stephanie Love, considered reimbursement for an erroneous tax payment in the amount of $1,403.89. It's Mr. Alan Cox, I believe. So
I'd so move, Mr. Chairman, that the reimbursement be agreed to.
Second.
got a motion and a second. Call for the vote, please. Right, moving to the next item, finance, which
He
is.
stepped out,
Oh, he did?
Jennifer, so just put him down as a abstain, because he stepped out.
Go for it, man. Hit the button.
He got it. She got it.
6-4, one abstained. All right, the next item, Mr. Carl Carter, meals tax information.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Ms. Carter. The board, you guys tasked me and Ms. Carter with coming up with some information regarding the meals tax or possibility of a meals tax. I got with Ms. Stephanie Love, the commissioner, and she was able to provide a report for 2019 total food taxable sales. And this is 2019 because she hasn't gotten 2020 yet, so this data's a little bit behind. Based on, she came up with 30 possible businesses that sell prepared foods, and those 30 businesses, based on her information for 2019,
has a total taxable food sales amount of about $3 million. So based on that $3 million number, we said we could get 4% of that. So you're looking at $120,000. That's if everybody paid all their taxes, and these numbers were exactly right on. So that's the number we got. We thought we'd give you that number because I know that talk is coming up again about meals tax, or possibility of it. So that's the information we have. We'll still keep working with the commission and try to get whatever we can get to find out more. It's going to be new for us as well. If you have any questions for me, I'll try to answer them, but this is more of a Commissioner of Revenue.
And we're bringing this because last year during the budget sessions, you all asked us to look into it, and we are beginning to start back into the budget process, and a separate public hearing would have to be held for this, other than your budget hearing. So that's why we're bringing that to you, so we will know which direction to go. And by the way, if these numbers, based on those numbers, that's not even a penny real estate, so.
And that was my next question. That's probably, what, about a half a penny?
No, we're about 140,000 is our real estate. I think.
Well, yeah, but when you
State
do real
corporation.
estate, you get
Exactly.
state corporation,
Right.
so it was 240.
70,000, I think.
276.
If, with state corporation
15.
included. Of course, that's on meals tax, but
think
that's
we
something
will.
for you all to consider.
That's some food for thought. Dr. Hicks on the phone yet? Thank you, Mr. Carter. Appreciate it. Does anybody else got any questions?
Not yet. She's not yet, Mr. Chairman, so I'll keep going to the next item if you want.
Okay, go ahead. All right.
All right, also, I prepared for you guys tonight, and that information that the auditors prepared, it should be a page or a table in your packet that shows 6-month revenue comparison. I tried to put this on a chart, but it was so all on a chart without being too small to read. So what I have listed for you guys tonight is all of our local taxes, and you can see real estate, everything beneath. But you'll see I have, as of December 2020, which is 6 months into our current budget year, the next column is the actual budget, the percent collected, and then onto the far right, you can see a comparison of what it was at December 2019, last fiscal year. You can see real estate, we've at 44% collected, which is not half, but it's a lot better during this pandemic we're facing. As you can see, as last fiscal year, we're at 3.7 as well, so it's almost the same as we were last year at this time. Public service, we got that amount, which is billed twice a year. So far as of December, in 6 months, we're 55% collected, so we're a little bit more than half. Personal property, you'll see that one is 81% collected, but that is mainly due in December. We usually get the remainder then on April when people buy their county stickers, so we'll catch up with that, I'm pretty sure. To the ahead of schedule, you will see machinery and tools and merchants capital. Talked to the commissioner, and we picked up some new businesses with that, and that's why that one is 123% collected. So we've collected more on that already for this fiscal year. Penalties and interest, you'll see there's an indicator of the times we're in right now. You'll see we only had $95,000 collected for that. That's only 27%. So we hope when people get around to April and pay their county decals and taxes, that number will build back up. But you can see that number's only at 20 collected as of December 31st. Once again, with the economy, you can see local sales and use tax, that number is down a lot. We only had 39% collected for the first 6 months of the year. Let me just skip down to some more. Motor vehicles licenses, you can see that number is only at 17,000, which is 5%, but those are the county decals, so when April comes around, that number should jump up to where it where it belongs. Bank stock taxes, that's a 0, but don't be alarmed, that's only billed at once a year, and we usually get that in April, so that'll be collected later on. Animal licenses, that number is 34%, and we usually do a clinic in the spring, and that's when that number usually picks up, and we remind everybody to pay their taxes. Revenue from use of money, you can see that number with the economy and the interest earnings is down a lot. We've only collected 9% of that number. And
revenue from using the property, that number is right on track with 50%. And to try to show you on the second page, you can see I tried to put together for use of revenue, interest earnings. And I think this sums it up in a nutshell when you look at the economy right now. You can see back in July of 2019, we were collecting $9,000 a month in interest on our funds. As of November of 2020, that number was down to $569. So we took a drastic decline in that. I think if you look at July 20, this fiscal year, July 2020 through November, we only had $4,300. And like I said, in July 2019, we had $9,000 just for 1 month. So for 5 months, we're not even close to what we got in 1 month when the times were good. And putting in that chart form, you can see that's just a straight line going down until we hope to get this thing turned around. Any questions for me?
Well, penalties and interest, if they pay it early, then this probably go down anyway, right?
Right. If they pay it early, the penalty interest will not be there.
And we forgave some of that, right, Mr. Chairman? Yes, we did. Early on.
That was last spring.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to make forecasting really interesting for the upcoming budget cycle.
Yeah, because you're right there. None of these numbers are terrible, but they're right there. They can go either way. If you're hovering around 50%, you could come out good, and then you could come around in April and they not turn in as well as expected.
The big key is April. So.
Yeah, right. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Carl. That was a good job. Good presentation. That's a good chart. I like that chart too.
Yeah, and
Really.
for us to be in this pandemic, not that bad off, that we're hoping, a lot of people just pay their taxes in April. With families that have to wait. And so we're hoping that that will catch up, but I think that see the bottom line down there that we are ahead of December of 19 in a total collection. Thank you, Carl. That's a good report.
And I know in our training we did, Mr. Chairman, that Mr. What's his name, Ms. Carter? The financial, he used to work for Senate Finance, but he's an expert. Regenball, yes, yes, ma'am. So he mentioned that the average across the Commonwealth cuts is 4%, and I think we're doing really well. And compared to, we did 1% in terms of the budget reduction, so that's really good.
Thank you, Carl. Dr. Hicks on the phone now.
Yes, she is.
Hello, Dr. Hicks.
Good afternoon. How are you all?
I'm fine. Let's see if we can get our information together here.
L2.
I think we got a couple questions going to be coming your way here in just a second. Miles, did you have something?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The question I had that I guess I would ask as still learning and as a novice to the budget process in terms of allocation of funds, but I guess the fees paid for the contracted architect, would that come out of the capital improvements fund that we've been discussing for several months, Dr. Hicks? And how much would that be for the architect who's assisting in issuing or putting together the request for proposals for the repair of the flat roof at the high school?
We have not moved in that direction yet. My board has not approved for us to seek an architect yet. The bids that you have before you is for the flat roof only. We were looking at possibly having an architect come in and look at the metal roof part. But my board has not approved for us to do that yet. And that funding would come from our maintenance budget, not from the funds that we sent back to you all.
Okay, that answers my
If
question.
the board decides to move in that direction. So what you have before you tonight is the bid for the flat roof that we were asking for repairs on, and that we brought to you all a couple of months ago about seeking funding to do those repaired. You all had asked us to get the beds first, so that's what we did. We got the 3 beds based on what you all had requested for that. We have not done anything moving forward with the metal roof. This is just for the flat roof.
And they're all consistent in that they're all, in terms of the warranty guarantee, they're all right at 10, it looks like, and they'd be charged for 15 or 20, but none are 30 because the manufacturer couldn't guarantee that. Dr. Hicks?
Yes, that's correct. The bed that you have in front of you, is the original bed that you have is for they have a quote for 10-year and a 15-year. They do not do a 20 or a 30-year warranty on a flat roof. Any of the companies that we seeked out do not do those on flat roofs. The most you can get would be a 15-year warranty. And those were the prices, either for if you wanted to move forward with a 10-year, which we currently have used in the past, or if you wanted a 15, that was the price that they would have to charge to get at least a 15-year warranty.
Could the structure, Dr. Hicks, handle a pitched metal roof potentially?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Hicks, could that structure that we're considering, or that the school board is considering replacing, that flat roof, handle a pitched metal roof potentially, in terms of over the life of the structure, I guess is what I'm pointing to.
Like that library down there?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I can't remember, but
You want to look at replacing the flat roof with an A roof? Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking, could the structure of the building handle that sort of a change from a flat roof to a pitched, we'll call it A roof?
I really can't answer that question. That's not my expertise in that area.
Not an architect, she wouldn't know that.
Well,
I don't answer that question because that's not my expertise as to whether they could or not. That would be an architect that would have to design that and tell us that.
It says here that you have already secured an architect to assist you with the rental roof, so that's, to me, that's just where I would like to wait and just see what y'all come up with your architect to say, or whoever you gotta have to say what a metal roof would cost us.
Right, that's not,
I'm
sorry, that's not what we're asking for at this point. We have 2 different roofs that needs to be repaired. One is the flat roof, which is the bed that you have in front of you. The other one is including the metal roof, which is what we haven't brought to you all because we want to seek out direction from an architect first. So there's 2 different sections of the roof that needs to be dealt with. The one that you have in front of you is only for the flat roof, not the metal roof.
I think what they were talking about was to, instead of redoing the flat roof, to put a metal roof on top of it. I don't even know if it can be done. I hadn't looked at it, but I think that's the thoughts of some of the folks here tonight. And that was the idea that, maybe put a roof over top of it, it'd be less cost in the future and about a roof.
if you have an architect that's gonna look at your metal roof that's in need of repair, he's gonna be right there. Why couldn't you just ask him, could a metal roof be put on this plastic, flat roof area? And, I mean, just, doesn't hurt to ask. It may be more beneficial. I know it'll be more beneficial, as far as longevity, because if you're gonna have to replace this flat roof every 15 years, then, that's costing the county more money in the long run. Yeah, we did, but we changed the joist and all the rafters. They had to put.
You would have to add joists and rafters to me to be able to do that.
Oh yeah, I know, but if you have to come back in 15 years, that's $160,000 versus I don't know how much it would cost one time to put the rafters and the structure back on this flat roof. I think that would be a good question to your architect whenever he gets out there.
And I'm sure he would give us a quote, but we did not ask for that when he gave us the projected cost. So again, I'm planning to present that to my school board on Wednesday of this week. I guess our main concern is the issue that we're having with the many leaks that we have in the roof. So as soon as we can move forward with repairing them, the better we're going to be, because if we continue to have those many leaks that we have in now, that's going to cause us some other problems. So we were trying to go ahead and get at least one section fixed, because that could take some time to get the architect out here and then get a idea from him of what we can do, and then seeking bids. We could be well into another summer before we could even get this project done. But we're moving whatever direction you all tell us to. But it is getting to be an emergency, a priority.
Dr. Hicks, was there a lot of leaking with the recent snow event that we had?
Yes, we get leaks every time it rains or anytime any moisture getting into the building. It's an issue. We've been trying to deal with this and replace this and fix this, and we asked you all for the money some time ago. But like I said, we'll do whatever you all suggest at this point. We just need some clear direction as to what we want, so we won't have to be, keep coming back and revisiting, because it is causing it's going to cause some more damage.
Yeah, this is not brand new though, Dr. Hicks. This is an ongoing issue that has been there several years.
Right, exactly.
So does everybody agree we think we ought to see what the architect would say about an A roof?
I think so. Yeah. I think we'd like to get a cost on a replacing that, or putting an A roof on that flat roof, just to see where we stand, Dr. Hicks. So maybe your facilities director can get a hold of this architect and get him out here in a reasonable amount of time, maybe before next month's meeting, and let us know something on that.
Which roof is leaking the worst?
Which one is leaking the worst? Flat roof?
All of them about the flat roof, of course, is the one that we have a lot of issues with, but all of them are in dire need.
I'm just curious, did the architect say that is the material failing on the metal roof, or what's the cause of the leakiness on the metal roof? I'm just curious.
We haven't had the architect come out yet. This is something that I'm taking to my board on Wednesday, so he hasn't even been aware of what we're dealing with right now, because we haven't got approval to even spend that money from our board yet. So this is something that we're taking to the board to make sure that before we do an RFP, we wanted to do an assessment to see the best route to move in that direction. Is why we were bringing the architect on. Because you all wanted a 30-year warranty on all of the roof replacement. We could not get one on the flat roof, but we were hoping to get some direction on the metal roof. So in order to do that, Mr. Hayslip and I thought it was best to present it to our school board and let them know what our recommendation would be. So we have not secured an architect.
Mr. Chairman, could our request, Dr. Hicks, do you think that with regards to what we've discussed with a pitched A metal roof, to maybe add time to over the life of the building, be turned around and by our next board meeting, Dr. Hicks?
We'll do our best. Again, we can't make any promises because we're on the mercy of the architect, so I don't know what his time frame would be with doing that.
Thank you, ma'am.
And that's if our board decide to go in that direction, because again, that's about $10,000 of our revenue that we would use for an architect to come out and do that. So we have to get approval to spend that kind of money first.
Dr. Hicks,
Yes.
since both roofs are leaking, I'm familiar with the flat roof leaking and the metal roof over the library is leaking. I guess the long-term solution, what we want to find out is to get away from the flat roof design at the high school, we want to know what it would cost to put an A roof over it. But in the interim, we understand your concern that both roofs are leaking to the point where it's both a nuisance and probably causing damage underneath. So why don't we get them both fixed in the interim and then go long-term to replace the flat roof? Right, I mean, that's up to the roofing person to find that out.
I mean,
See what you can find out Wednesday and then get back to us, I would think.
No. You understand?
Dr. Hicks.
So I understand you all want us to look at it. You want me to take this to my board, to my school board, ask for an architect. If they say yes, then we're to ask the architect about replacing the flat roof with a roof.
Well, I don't think that's what Mr. Bryan said. I think he wants to look at replacing, or he wants to look at fixing. You're looking for a fast fix, aren't you? I mean, that's what you want, because you're acting like it's pretty severe, and every time it rains, it's messing up more stuff. So we would like to know how much it would cost to repair the flat roof right now, and then
You have those beds in front of you. Those are the 3 beds that you have.
That's replace, not repair. Right, Mr. Chairman?
No.
That's just repair.
It's just repair.
That is to fix the flat roof.
Yeah, repair.
What about the other roof?
well, you gonna get? Aren't you gonna have to get another roofing guy out there to look at the metal roof? I mean, that's what I guess the question. You say they're both leaking pretty bad, so.
Yeah, on this paperwork, it
Yes.
says that she's.
Again, the architect is the person we wanted to come out on the metal roof, because we need to write in specifics of what we know is going to withstand for 30 years based on your recommendation that you asked for a 30-year warranty. We need an architect to vet that before we can write an RFP, because when you write the RFP, we have to be consistent of what we want in that RFP. So we wanted an expert to come out and tell us that. As far as the flat roof goes, we knew what was required in that based on our previous years of repairing flat roofs. So we put those in the RFPs, and this is the bids that you have in front of you for repairing those. The cost that it would be for either a 10-year warranty or a 15-year warranty. But now I'm understanding you're not interested in repairing or doing anything with the flat roof. You want to look at putting an A roof on.
No. I am too.
Some of them want to just try to fix your roof, fix your water leaks right now, and then continue to go on about the A roof, so you wouldn't have a leaking problem. But it's kind of hard to do both at the same time. But my opinion, if you can get the architect, and y'all got a Wednesday meeting, just see if you can contact the architect after you talk to your board and see what they say about the A roof, and then get back with us. And
Well, my thing is, whatever roofing company you decide to go with, I know there are people that just do flat roofs, but most of these roofing companies, commercial roofing companies, have 2 or 3 different materials they can put on a roof, whether it's metal or a rubber membrane or a shingle roof. All these people, I mean, I would think you could contact one of those people to ask about the metal roof. why are you wanna pay a architect $10,000 to tell you what you need? They're not gonna do the work. You gotta have a roofing person to do the work.
We understand that, but again, to make sure that we could get a 30-year warranty under what you all was asking for, we needed to vet what to actually ask for specifics in that RFP.
Well, you can ask for that in the RFP,
When
but
you
you
write
don't.
the RFP, you have to put in whether you want the rubber, whatever you want. So we needed to get it vetted to make sure that whatever we asked for was what we were going to get that would withstand any company coming in.
Most metal roofs, the metal itself, I've heard it's up to 65 years.
Yeah.
The metal itself, so
I don't think you need an architect to tell you that, and I don't think you need an architect to tell you how to write the RFP. That's pretty simple. You can go to the manufacturer or the
Well,
people
we'll solicit any help we can get from your staff because, again, that's not my expertise. And Mr. Hayslip was thinking that if we got an architect, we could make sure that we were getting the best material and utilizing that with people that do this all the time. Well, if you bring a company in that's doing this, then that kind of jeopardizes when you do your RFP because it might be information that they're providing to us to make sure that they get that bid. So to keep it from being a conflict of interest, we didn't want to bring a company in. We was looking at an architect that may not be one that would be vetting on the actual work that be done. But if you all have some support for us, we'll gladly accept it. Because again, we just need to move forward with whatever we can do to repair our high school and keep the roof from leaking.
My contention, Mr. Chairman, is that we need to fix the roof, but we need to do it right, and we need to get the biggest bang for our buck. That's my contention. We certainly need not to have a leaking school, but we need to, in an excruciating way, even though we just went through our tax revenues, we don't know what's ahead of us, and we need to make sure that we do it right, and we do it for the biggest bang for our buck with people's money. That's, and I think that's what a lot of my brethren here are saying.
Yes.
Because again, a pitched metal roof goes a lot longer than a flat roof.
Right, but in the interim, we're gonna have to fix the 2 leaks that are there.
Right.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm for fixing both leaks, but I thought our guidance was
Both prices.
to get
Right.
both prices. We want the price,
Pitched and flat.
yeah, to
Repair and
Yeah.
put a new one on.
to put a new
Repair and
roof on.
replace.
And to repair on one end and to replace on the other, you know.
Right, that's what we wanted. We
Right.
wanted a repair and we wanted a replace quote. That's what we asked for.
Did you understand that, Ms. Hicks?
I would appreciate if y'all put all of this in writing to me. That would be very helpful to make sure that we're accurate in what we're looking for.
We can do that, no problem.
For Wednesday meeting, yeah.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
Because as you see, these bids are going to expire in 30 days. They're only good for 30 days, so we won't be able to use these. We'd have to do it again.
Okay.
Okay, we understand. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, you want us to get this in writing now? And
To verify, to get that in writing, you want them to bring to you bids to repair and also bids to replace.
separate bids, though, we want to know.
Separate bids.
Right.
For both roofs?
Yes.
I mean, right now, they've got a bid to repair the flat roof. I mean, we totally understand that, but we want to find out what it would cost to replace that roof.
Long term.
Long term.
Right.
Put an A roof
So
on
you
top
don't
of the
have to
flat
keep
roof.
every 10 years resealing a flat roof.
That's right. Not sealing it, you have to replace the whole membrane if you do
Yeah.
that. So, I mean.
Yeah, that building's got a lot of life left in it.
Yeah, Ms. Carter, okay, so we're gonna get a price on repairing both roofs right now to get them through this wet season. Is that right? Or is not right?
I would
A
say
price
repair
on
the
it.
And
flat
replace
roof.
it.
The metal roof, That's gonna go along with rebuilding all the roof anyway.
Okay, well, you still need a price on putting a structure or rafters and
Right.
everything else on the flat roof, moving ahead to see if it's feasible to put metal on that roof.
Yes.
A roofing person can tell you that. You don't need an architect to tell you that.
And my suggestion is,
Bids on flat roof
I can say
repair
something?
and bids on
Yeah, Mr. Davis?
flat
we're
roof
looking at putting an
replace.
A roof on this flat roof
Well, we
building,
got flat
then
roof
we need to
replaced,
go
so
with the
all we need
lowest
is
option to repair it.
Yes.
Because there's
flat
no
roof.
sense in getting 15 years on
Price
something that we're
on a
gonna
new
cover
A
up.
roof.
That's right.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So that's $30,000 we can add towards putting an A roof on it in the metal structure.
Are we clear, Ms. Carter?
I think so.
Okay. Okay, let's move on.
Number 6.
Number 6. Yes,
Did
number
that
6
one.
is, consider reimbursement of $224.59 of a building permit fee due to change in type of and size of home.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Call for the vote. Any discussion?
That's to replace $224, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Change the
59%.
size of home, the home that they
Yeah,
got.
getting messed up before it got home.
Number 7, consider support of a resolution for a grant for an emergency action plan completed by a professional engineer at Slate River Dam Number 2 in the amount of $6,800. Any discussion?
Granting, yeah. So moved.
Have a motion? Second. Call for the vote. Seven yes. Number 8, Arvonia Fire Department, consider a letter regarding the intention of the Arvonia Fire Department acquiring new capital assets through a lease purchase transaction. Mr. Davis, are you speaking on that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Carter. This is an item that we were requesting and get approval and a signature from you all on this form for our financial institute that we secured a loan to for as partial payment for our new engine that we're supposed to take delivery of. You may recall back in 2019, we started this process of buying a new engine. Got 3 different bids. We went with the Rosenbauer America. That apparatus has been built. We look to take delivery of that at the end of this month, if not first part of March. We did have to secure a portion of the cost of that truck through a financial institute due to lack of fundraising that we were unable to do because of COVID and uncertain future, not being able to do those fundraisers this coming year as well. We didn't want to dip too low into our operating capital in our reserve in order to pay for it entirely. This part of what we're asking for from the county is just to satisfy one of the requirements through the financial institute that allows us to get a 1.5% interest rate on the loan.
Any discussion, fellas? Any questions for Mr. Davis?
I'm just trying to understand exactly what do we need to do for you is to say that we are in agreement with you.
That you don't have a problem with them entering into this agreement, and it pretty much also kind of verifies for you all that you have money coming from the county.
Yes.
To pay for it, so it's kind of a security.
And
You're
we
not,
do provide
you're not
service to the
co-signing
county.
anything, you're not putting up any additional money.
Right, I'm just trying to make sure I know what we're doing.
Understand. I so moved.
Thanks. I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion, fellas? Call for the vote.
This is gonna tie in when you guys,
7-0.
when you merge, right, Chris? How will this tie in when you guys, do the 3 fire departments together?
They're not
This,
merging.
this
Four,
doesn't
I'm
have
sorry,
any,
4.
this doesn't have anything to do with,
Your
are you
association.
referring to the association that was newly
Yes, sir.
formed?
That's not.
Each individual fire department is still separate. The association is an entity of its own that will allow the 4 fire departments to actually create the association to have their own EIN number in order to obtain insurance and bank accounts and so forth under the association for joint fundraisers.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we got 7 yes, and moving on to the next item. Board of Zoning Appeals, consider a letter of appreciation to Reverend Lawing for his many years of service on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
So move.
Second.
Third, fourth, and
For the
fifth.
vote. Thank you so much. The next item is appointment of Robert Johansen to the Buckingham County Board of Zoning Appeals.
I'd move, Mr. Chairman, that Mr. Johansen be appointed to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Let's call for the vote. Like, Jamie,
Laptop, his screen went shut down.
His magnetic personality.
Metallic.
I do that to a lot of people, you know.
Magnetic personality.
Just ask my wife, she'll tell you. Thank you so much. Seven yes. Moving on to the next item. Emergency Management Virginia VACORP resolution that recognizes rescue squad volunteers for workers' compensation.
So this is a resolution they need to cover we'll have some volunteer rescue squad people that will run calls for us too. And this is required to cover them under workman's compensation.
So move.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other discussion, fellas? All right, let's take the vote. 7 yes. Next item is emergency management. Consider approval of a grant match that can be paid with COVID CARES money in the amount of $24,804 for a total amount to the county of $49,608 for mobile logistics support units. And another thank you for Mr. Davis for writing this grant. I don't think they had any idea they were going to get it, but thank you, Mr. Davis. And step to the mic.
So just the broad view of this, a few of the counties in this area were awarded this supplemental grant as the data indicates that we have a lot of underserved and in need individuals during this COVID time. You guys were in support of the health equity pilot program that we facilitated early on in COVID, where we got some PPE resources and educational resources in the hands of that population across the county. And this is kind of fueled by the same data But basically, we don't really have an isolated group of poor and underserved individuals that are at risk ultimately due to those circumstances in this time of COVID. It's more of a countywide thing. So, they awarded us these funds in general to help combat that and address that. And so, myself and my counterparts in those other few counties that were awarded this similar grant put our heads together about a resource that would be beneficial, now and in the long term to this county. And we came up with this logistics trailer support unit, which would more or less be a mobilized clinic or test site or distribution point for, more PPE or other resources for, definitely obviously this pandemic or any other issues that may arise in the future. So, like I said, and I guess the best thing about this is our match can be paid with the CARES money.
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Davis, for that information. Great job. Call for the vote. Seven oh, moving. Thank you. I would like to get a few of the Temptations or something playing. Is that you, Donnie?
Blame him.
Okay, moving on to the next item. Matters of the board for consideration. Supervisor Miles, consider appointment of a Buckingham resident to the Crossroads Services.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. During the December Crossroads Community Services Board meeting, former supervisor and citizen representative on Buckingham's behalf, EA Bill Talbert, announced his resignation as a citizen member to the Crossroads Community Services Board. And I bring to your consideration the name of Martha Davis Holman, who has interest in being the citizen representative on the Crossroads Community Services Board.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? No? Can we call for the vote? 7-0. Right on to the next item.
Another items, Mr. Chairman?
Are there any other items? No, I don't think so. County attorney, any county attorney matters, Mr. Wright?
Chairman, there's no amount of information.
You can't hear.
They have withdrawn their appeal.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
He gone now.
He said Weyerhaeuser has withdrawn their appeal.
Good.
And just awaiting any further action from the board or from Mr. Wright. Okay, I don't think that's going to be forthcoming. So anyway, moving on to the next item, which is County Administrator Report.
Yes, sir. The first item that I have is an announcement from Dominion Energy regarding funding for the Buckingham County Emergency Management particularly. I'd like to read the release that was sent to me. Dominion Energy has been a proud corporate citizen of Buckingham County for over 70 years. As we worked with the county and more specifically with the Union Hill community on our now canceled compressor station project, we learned of several opportunities where we felt we could make a difference in people's lives. During our engagement process, important education, cultural, and public safety needs were highlighted by residents. Notwithstanding the cancellation of the compressor station, we still believe that we can make a difference in Buckingham, inasmuch Dominion Energy, in furtherance of our value of strengthening the communities we serve, has chosen today to make a multi-year commitment to the Union Hill and greater Buckingham County community. This commitment will include $1.5 million contribution to the Buckingham County Public Safety and EMS program and $2 million to South James Community Foundation and other organizations. The grants being announced today represent many of the elements which had been included in the Memorandum of Understanding between the company and the Greater Union Hill Community Development Corporation, which has since been renamed the South James River Community Foundation, and resulted from our engagement with the residents as we worked to permit the proposed compressor station. We are honored to make a difference in improving the lives of those our community touches. And I did send out a request to know pretty much what they meant by multi-year, and they're not going to give that money to us every year. And I talked with Felix today, and he hopes to, by the end of this week, have an answer for me of how they will distribute that money to the county. Now, the $2 million will not come to the county, but the 1.5 that they initially, in all of our negotiations and conversations, was for Glenmore Fire Rescue Squad Station, and to pay staff to staff those stations. So that's some good news. The next matter is an update on Senate Bill 1477 regarding our solid waste permit authority. It did pass the Senate unanimously and now is in the House, and they have sent it out to committee. Separate one, let me find it. It's now continued to special session 1 in counties, cities, and towns by voice vote. So Senator Peake introduced us for this and was able to get a unanimous vote out of Senate. So that sounds good. Update on Central Virginia Electric Broadband Fiber Network, and I provided that in a report to you where they're giving us a schedule as much as possible. And also to notify, you have received a letter of notification, which is a requirement through VGA, Virginia Growth Alliance, that Cumberland County is now withdrawing from the Virginia Growth Alliance also. House Bill 1642, a well test letter. That's Dominion Energy regarding the Bremo North Ash Pond. I give you this information in case you all do get any calls from your folks down there. Why did I get this letter? What is going on? So that's for your information. And that concludes my county administrator's report.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carter, for the update. That sounds very promising from Dominion Power. It's really going to come in handy if that comes through, and I feel like it is. So, all right, informational items. We have the January building permit in our report, the CRC information, the school average daily membership report, appointment of the county administrator to the 2021 VACO Finance Steering Committee, and that's a big appointment for anybody that doesn't know VACO. I mean, that's an opportunity that is, number one, I'm excited for Ms. Carter.
Well, the Finance Committee is not the big appointment. It's I've been appointed to the VACO Board of Directors, which, of course, I let them know that my retirement will be the end of June, but they will still want me to serve. So I'll still be able to represent you all for a year and a half after that. So I have agreed to that.
Great, that's good.
I'll still be there plugging for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. If you do half as good a job for them as you've done for us, I'll be really pleased.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
They will too.
and I know you will, so I'm not even worried about that. But I know you have Buckingham's best interest at heart. So anyway, thank you so much for all the good hard work that you've done all these years. Other board matters?
Very briefly, Mr. Chairman, you all have before you a real property donation agreement that was distributed right before our meeting. This has to do very excited about this, and I want to thank Ms. Carter for her hard work with regards to the work or I'll say negotiations we've been able to do with Centera, the medical facility, also known as Buckingham Family Medicine. They've agreed to gift, and of course, there's still negotiations going on, and the county attorney is going to look at the agreement, so hopefully we can act at the next meeting. But Centera is very graciously giving us the 2,700 square foot building located there in Dillwyn. We've been working with them since the summer on this, and they're also going to gift us the lot for community purposes. So that's a really big win for the Board of Supervisors and for the county. So wanted to make you all aware of that, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the update, Mr. Miles. We
Mr.
appreciate
Miles,
it.
just to clarify something, you and I had spoken earlier tonight.
Sure.
And I've gotten this question from several different people. We are still aggressively trying to find someone to occupy that building.
Yes, sir. We are, Supervisor Brian. It's going to take time, but I do think that, and I'll yield to Ms. Carter as well, in that the negotiations on page 4, you see community benefit purpose. We had a conversation with Dr. Bruce Clemens, who is one of the directors, for the lack of a better term, with Centera, and he's been excellent to work with. And so, namely, that they obviously want to give this back to the community as they have done in other communities. And Ms. Carter can speak to that, but the purpose will be, namely, depending on what we want to do, we as a board want to do, will be to hopefully expand healthcare options in the county. Is that right, Ms. Carter?
Yes, and having this facility will help us, I think, to find someone to come there. We all pretty much know Centera left for financial reasons. And it's very difficult there to be financially successful. So I think having this will help attract a doctor there, someone in a medical facility.
Yeah, we've been having ongoing discussions since the summer, Supervisor Brian, and we'll continue to have those as well.
Yes,
in terms of the use of the building. So yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So just elaborating on that, we want to, this is not a done deal, but we're nearing the finish line, and I'd like to thank Ms. Carter. We had a meeting back in the summer with some representatives, with Ms. Moss and some other folks too. So this is a huge win for Buckingham County that they are going to give us that building, which I don't know the value of it, but I'm sure it's valued at right much, and you'd probably be paying more for it if we got there. But Centera has been good to Buckingham. No one likes the closing, but I think we are compromising in terms of continuing to look at other options in terms of continuing to support and expand healthcare in the county. So it's been a lot of work. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Thank you for
And
the
I think
information.
part of the reason with this in our discussions with Centera, they felt bad about leaving us in the predicament we're in. So to say, it would help us, I don't know what made me do it. Jordan did. I just threw it out there. Would you consider giving us that building? And we didn't really think it would happen. And it's taken a while. But we do need Mr. Wright to look over this agreement. We do need to probably inspect the facility and bring back to you all in March.
Right. That's really, that's some really heartwarming information right there. As bad as we need a private practice doctor in Buckingham County or facility, I think that'll help a lot of people, and hopefully we can get this thing done. So anyway, the next item is item R, which is
Jordan, did you have
executive
another?
closed session. Huh?
Got one.
Who?
One more board matter.
Other board matters, that's it? Okay.
I got one thing, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr.
About a
Jim.
couple of weeks ago, got a call from a lady over next to Payne's Pond. Said she dialed 911 about 2 o'clock in the morning. Her husband had a stroke and fell on the floor. She said about 15 minutes, the rescue squad were there. In less than an hour, they had him in the emergency room in Martha Jefferson. And she was in the board of the staff.
Well,
We're grateful for the service they got.
Yes, sir. Well, that's a great testimony to a lot of hard work from the Rescue Squad Committee, which is, encompasses, Mr. Allen and myself, Cody Davis, Mr. Wright, and, Ms. Carter. And, you know, this has been a kind of long, drawn-out process, but, you know, it's pretty evident we had the citizens' well-being at heart on the decisions that we made, and there were a lot of hard decisions that had to be made, transitioning from the volunteer rescue squad to us taking it over as the county. So I just want to tell you that's a really good team effort by a lot of people, and I appreciate that comment from that. Who is the citizen, Mr. Chambers? Yes, sir. Okay. That's amazing to get there in 15 minutes. That's pretty daggone good time for our staff to do
And she
it.
made the phone call and had him in the operating room in my.
Awesome.
Great.
I just,
I like that.
we're blessed to have that. And awesome. Thank you for that information.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thanks.
Ready?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we go into executive closed session under sections.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh,
Fire departments, is that right?
What?
Our board matters about the.
No, did we have anything else? I don't think so.
I requested them a letter we got. Do we have to-
We took care of their letter. And as far as the closed session, if you all are okay with the job description, we don't need to go in. If
We do,
I want to
under a
discuss
separate,
it, we need.
under a separate section.
Okay. A separate section?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Under section 2.2-3711, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. That's my motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman Matthews.
Okay, we got a motion and a second by Mr. Miles. Let's take the vote, please. All right, 7-0 to go into closed session. Thank you.
Jamie.
trying to
Oh.
figure out what I'm.
We return to open session and certification that to the best of each board member's knowledge, only business matters related to the code of which the executive meeting was convened was discussed or considered in the executive closed session.
Seconded, Mr. Chairman.
All right, let's take a vote. 7-0, 6-1. Who voted no?
Joe voted no.
You vote no for it.
Did you hit no by accident, Mr. Chambers?
I'm sorry, I think what Jordan said was very
It's a good idea.
Oh, Lord.
All right, to clarify, Mr. Chambers, you did vote yes, right?
Sir, I voted yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You see, Bill, let me change it.
That's okay, just make a note of it, Jennifer.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We need
That
to
it was
revote.
erroneously hit.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do that.
All right, now, discussion from Ms. Edmondson on, next Monday night on a possible training session with the planning commission.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, in the last week, it has come to my attention from the chairman of the Planning Commission that it is their desire to move forward with a discussion session with a representative from the University of Richmond School of Law to discuss property rights as they relate to zoning ordinances. I have, at the request, I know that Ms. Carter, our county administrator, had stated that there had been individuals who would come through Virginia Tech to discuss different.
It's something that would take a while to get scheduled.
And it would take a while to get scheduled. So Mr. Bowe asked that I reach out to University of Richmond. I did last week and found out that the request had been sent to a faculty member who's supposed to reach out to me, but they have not. And so Friday and today I reached back out to just get an update. I don't have anything definitive for you other than we do have a work session next. It'll actually be Tuesday because Monday's a holiday. Tuesday. And I talked to the chairman about this. If it's agreeable and you want to recess to reconvene to be a part of this discussion, it would be at 6 p.m. Tuesday, the 16th.
But we don't know if the people are going to be there.
And there could also be a fee associated with this faculty member, and I do not know what that rate would be either. And I know that they were going to attend possibly via Zoom. I could continue to look through different avenues. It's a late date because we'll be just a week out from this to try to seek other legal counsel. But again, I won't have any approval for fees. I'll try to find some that maybe do not have a fee structure.
We put it off until maybe March, then we would know more.
We
could meet an hour early, couldn't we? In March. instead of meeting
Yeah.
in February.
Well, in March, we gonna meet an hour early to meet with the school board,
Oh, I'm sorry.
anyway, on budget.
Could we,
Or maybe that'll be at our budget meeting, maybe not a regular meeting, we won't be.
I know that when we said something about March, budget season is
Yeah, we
upon
have a lot of-
Becky and Carl, that's gonna, and I know this comes at last minute, but the request, it came to me last week, Wednesday.
I'm gonna probably, if you do,
Haven't had a lot of time to set something
I'm
up.
gonna probably show up for the meeting anyway.
I do have one other thing.
Mr. I have a, oh, I'm sorry. Can I do it?
I do have one other issue. As you're aware, the sheriff's office is 2 deputies down right now. I did ask Sheriff Kidd to look into the possibility, what it would cost if someone wanted to move from an adjoining jurisdiction, if there was a fee to buy out their contract, how much it would cost. So something to think about. They would be fully certified officers that, have the possibility of coming here. Then the training would be, little to none other than just familiarity with the county, which would be a win-win for our sheriff's office. So,
Especially with budget season coming up.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, yes, sir.
Back to your.
Mr. Chairman, going back to the previous topic, I'm also interested in that training, and
Nikki, I think.
so I'll attend.
Well, what about if we just decide, just show up and keep our spacing if we want. I'm gonna come to training if you have a person here. If you don't have it, we wouldn't have to come, but if somebody shows up from the
I'll be
University of
okay.
Richmond.
Recess to reconvene, we have to come.
Right, if you don't recess to reconvene and you show up, are they able to participate in a discussion if it's not?
You have to have a quorum. Right.
Well, you could talk at any time. That'd be up to the, chairman.
The
night.
board can't conduct any business.
No business,
Right.
Right.
But they can participate in discussion.
Ask questions.
Where did our county attorney go? But I
Mr.
think
Wright,
The planning commission can invite them.
this is a question for you, sir.
They haven't done.
No, they haven't.
We have the possibility of having a speaker at the planning commission
Tuesday night.
from the University of Richmond. If we recess to reconvene, then we can meet here, participate in discussion, everything. If we adjourn and the speaker does come, could board members come here just to listen and maybe ask questions?
Certainly you could come and ask questions of the speaker. You couldn't convene, you couldn't take any action.
No,
You
right.
couldn't discuss items.
And it would be better to not sit next to each other.
Well, that, that's a personal choice.
Right.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So we could adjourn, and if the speaker is available, still come. Okay.
Right now, you don't know.
Okay. All right, so
Clock on.
next Tuesday at 6 o'clock, okay.
If you want.
All right, let's adjourn.
16, right?
Meeting is closed.
I need some clarification.